when it was passed on Friday, it was even a surprise to me, because I know that they were going to start the consideration of the bill. And that was the instructions I left before I went to attend to other activities. It was Friday, and members wanted to go home early to their constituencies because we were going to sit today. And so I knew they wouldn't have completed it. But all of a sudden, I read about its passage. I reacted, and later I saw on TV all the things that happened. And so this evening, I have asked the leaders to meet me in my office. So they will be here for us to go through it. This is such a critical bill that we believe there must be consensus. But it's not about passing bill. It's about implementing it and making sure that it benefits the people. And so leaders of both sides of the House will be with me this evening for us to discuss what next after the passage of the bill. And I'm very sure that being men and women of wisdom will find a way out and to get all Ghanaians to buy and trade. We are grateful to all those who have come out with the commendation of the good work that Parliament has done. But we want to assure them that whatever discussion we'll have will be to better what has already been passed. It won't take any shine of it. But we need all of them to come on board, because without an identity, you have no value.
And so there's brain drain and there's brain gain. The thing, and this is what I say about migration. Somebody says, why did you come to our country? Human beings from time immemorial have been very mobile. All of us were created in Africa. Human civilization started in Africa. And then our cousins, the British, migrated and came here. The Chinese migrated and went there. Everybody migrated to somewhere else. And people move for many reasons. Some for opportunity, some just want to travel and go somewhere else. And so just as you say somebody is in your country, you too, your people are in that person's country. And so in Ghana we have everybody. We have British, we have South Africans, we have Sudanese, we have everybody, and we're living together. So I think that it is that diversity, and our elders say, "Yediahoho ne chichiri crew." For those of you who know that, Yediahoho and a chichiri crew, because a hoho come sometimes with investment, and sometimes they come with new ideas that you never thought about.
Thank you so much for your time and for being with us. Let's just start here, because many investors point to the progress that Ghana's economy has had since this new administration took office. With the conflict in the Middle East, how much do you see that potentially rolling back some of the gains that you and the administration have made?
Thank you. So let me put it this way. The conflict poses some challenge on availability of petroleum products, conflict on the price of petroleum products, and then impact on the, most importantly, fertilizer and supply chain. Availability isn't a concern to us at the moment, because we produce on our own approximately 40% of petroleum product. So let me put it away, almost half of the nation's consumption is produced internally. The remaining 50% is largely coming from Dangote oil refinery and other sources. So there is not much of a challenge in terms of availability of petroleum product for us. I think the challenge has to do with price increases. The good news is that in Ghana, we do not have subsidies on petroleum product.
You rolled back some of those.
We don't have subsidies at all
Yeah.
on petroleum product. And so there's not much of an impact on the national budget. The impact is more or less on balance of payment, the fact that you are spending so much foreign exchange to, in the past, maybe spending twice the same amount, the same United States dollars equivalent of the same, volumes that you will need. But the good news is that we had built some significant reserves. And so the reserves position is the country is able to support the purchases of this product through United States dollars by making the central bank making available United States dollars. And our gold production is also going up. And gold prices is also very high. And so we have seen trade balance inching up to about double digit, 10% plus this year. And so Ghana is in a comfortable position to be able to withstand those shocks. Where I think we may see a bit of pressure will be on the back of inflation.
Is your expectation that it will rise then?
Yes, rising, and we expect that inflation may inch up. Today is about 3.4. I still think we'll be better off, and I don't think the country's inflation will exceed 5% by the end of the year.
What gets in the way of that? If we continue to see the conflict in the Middle East, could that potentially put a damper on that outlook right there?
Not really, because our major exports are doing well. Cocoa, yes, dipped, but the cocoa price has started going up. Oil, we're also an oil exporter, and so foreign exchange, we're also getting something back in terms of foreign exchange coming into the country. Yes, for example, we estimated approximately $1 billion United States dollars from the oil revenue this year going to both heritage stabilization and annual budget funding amount. But that has been revised since, and we expect that instead of $1 billion, we'll be expecting about $1.5 billion, for example.
Why is that? Has it been more productive?
Why is it? I think it's because, one, we had earlier on program, the budget of 2026, we assumed that the oil price will be about $70. Today, it's in excess of $90. And so there is obviously an increase. And so since we are also an exporter of oil, the country will also benefit from the high price as well.
So then if we see a peace agreement in the Middle East, how do you anticipate that then feeding through into the economy? The
good news is that because we had already programmed $70 or $74, a peace agreement that brings it back to $74 is to our advantage, because we never anticipated that it was going to go to $90 or $100 in any way, and we did not plan for such levels of high increases in petroleum products in the first place. So we lose nothing. So
it sounds like Ghana's been a net. It's actually done quite well considering what's happened in the Middle East. Is that fair to say?
I think we've been lucky because maybe through providence, we're prepared ahead of today. And let me say that we've never been ready to withstand any form of shock than today. Today, the country is in a very healthy position to be able to withstand external shocks of this nature. The good news is that we need to prepare for tomorrow, because as for shocks, they are bound to happen. They may come tomorrow, after this, another one may come beyond your control, no one knows. Every one of us expect that this Middle East situation goes away quickly, but it doesn't guarantee that there won't be another shock tomorrow. And so what we have learned is that we need to prepare for days like this and build buffers to be able to support the country.
What would you say is the buffer that is supporting the economy? Is it the oil price? Is it gold? Is it the cocoa sector? What would you say is really underpinning the growth of the economy?
I think the buffers we need to build for a country to be able to withstand this kind of shocks is, one, fiscal buffers, and two, balance of payment or external buffers. You need these two to withstand it. Yes, for Ghana, Drivers of the buffers are one, gold prices, cocoa prices, helping build a robust external environment for the central bank to build enough reserves to be able to withstand such shocks. On the fiscal side, we are building buffers through sinking fund, debt service reserve account, and all to be able to provide enough buffer to withstand any shock of any kind. And so, for example, we have legislated a debt anchor in our PFM Act at 45% of GDP, not exceeding that. We've legislated a primary surplus of 1.5% of GDP. That in itself is what is actually driving the buffers that we are building going into the future.
And yet you're still talking to the IMF about a program. Can you talk about why those...
So let me put it this way. Our current IMF financial bailout is coming to an end.
Yeah.
We've successfully completed the final review. The IMF is going to their board to get approval. Obviously, we expect that to happen, give and take, by end of next month, July, end of July. And so we expect that we will successfully graduate from that. Going into the future, we've agreed at the staff level, a policy coordination instrument with an IMF, locked in for 36 months, so that the IMF can carry us along through a path of reform to sustain the gains, and we are aiming at investor grade and investment grade.
By when?
By the end of the 3 years, by the end of 36 months. Today, we have successfully moved the country from a credit rating of the C levels to now B minus and B. We expect that will move to the double B levels and even triple Bs in the next 3 years. We have successfully reduced our debt risk from high risk of debt distress to today moderate risk of debt distress. Don't forget that Ghana in 2022 had an unsustainable debt situation.
Right.
We've successfully moved from unsustainable debt to high risk of debt distress, and today to moderate risk of debt distress. And clearly this is the first time we've seen that in the last 13 years.
Right.
And we are building on that because we hope that we'll be able to sustain the medium risk of debt distress for a very good period of time. So that will drive the investment grade that we are.
Why do you need this IMF program? It is not a traditional program, of course, we should say, but what is it that what is the support that you're looking for that you can't do on your own?
So it's not about what you can do and what you can do. It's about the past and the perception people have on the country, and they need to build a great credibility going into the future. Let me put it this way. This is a country that has just come out of debt default and a major economic crisis of 2022. Some investors are skeptical. You need to remove that concern. And in doing so, you need to walk them through a path of credibility. And we believe that though we have successfully recovered the economy and stabilized it, there's the need to send a signal that this stabilization is here to stay, and we're going to sustain that. In doing so, you need a stamp of approval. You need that credibility with the IMF. Hence our decision to work with the IMF to introduce the next level of reforms. And so the reforms we are introducing is to send a signal to the investor community and to everyone out there that Ghana's economic stabilization effort that we've put in place is sustainable. And so Ghana is ready for businesses to be able to come into the country. But most importantly, we've identified a package of reforms that will sustain these gains that we've made. And we believe that working with the IMF, tapping into their expertise and knowledge, being around for years and having global perspective of issues will be something that the country will have to sign up to and be able to get the IMF to assist us on this journey of reform.
Have you decided on the reform?
We have.
What are
we have a number of reform packages. For example, the state-owned enterprises. We have identified the fact that SOEs in particular have accounted for adding about 2.5% of GDP additional debt to the country's debt per annum. And so what do we do to tackle this SOEs, debt accumulation, and the fact that stock flow adjustment has been the major driver of public debt. First, we need to reform these SOEs, and some of the reforms that we need to go through, we need to do it together with the fund. They bring their country perspective, other countries, and what we can do together to reform the SOEs. The second is the energy sector. The energy sector today, government of Ghana spent an average 1.5 billion, close to 2 billion United States dollars to support the energy sector. We need to reform that. We need to make sure that going into the future, we can remove that 2 billion United States dollars. And if you can reduce it to the barest minimum, that amount of money can also go a long way to support other critical sectors of the economy.
Does that mean bringing in more private partners? What
Exactly,
does that mean?
exactly, and many more. And so the constraints that we have in the energy sector, for example, needs to be removed. These are some of the reforms that we believe that together we need to remove them and make sure that the country can benefit from these resources that hitherto we are using it largely to subsidize or to support the energy sector to survive.
What about the mining sector? It's very important to the economy. Are you looking at revising some of the policies that are in place to bolster the mining sector a bit more?
So, for example, we are introducing a number of reforms in the mining sector. Some of the reforms we have already introduced include the capturing of the economic rent in a way that a country can benefit from. So Ghana had never had a windfall taxes. And so, for example, all-in costs for producing a mine.
Nyame de adom na dom ye yasan asi nkonwa ye de beyond the headlines dwumadie no etimi e de brawo so obehwa eduru anwumre benada yawada ene kwese de anwumre bia ye hia adwendwen ye man Ghana ho e wo Masemtvgh so ye nkomobo a ye de brawo no e ma ye nyina etimi hu ba bia wo man no etimi ekọ na etu mpon e de efa e kire se enyame nko a wonsoso de ehia obi ansoso ohwe na anwumre soso de ehia se ebetimi aboa na o man chichire no etimi akonanim ye de ne ma na ye sonko no se ye fa asem no baako anamienu na ya domo esuko na ya biebie mu ya ka ho asem apesamakafo atituro atwotwowurofo o mo ka bie mu no na ye ne o mo adi nkomo na o mo etimi achechire nse ne biase na nsem a ye ka so e wo social media no da media portal ne ye ka ho nyina no yetimi atense na se ne hu bebi a ye man no etimi ko anwumre media ne KWAME fresh loft ya masi nkonwa nzozo a me no edi ehia edi dwumadie we edi ebrawo ka se na anwumre me ni owura KWAME na eba be hia ye no enso eba be bubu nsem ba ko be no a aba be to dwa se edi hu enkomo nsem a enepa ye betime di hu enkomo has to do se obehwa enche bia last week on the 29th May 2026 ana amrahye bedwafo e passe anti-LGBTQ bill no since omo passe no there's a lot of controversies a trendy a esese na nwumre yetimi hwe back and forth the eba critical analysis niema bi ewom nsem bi obi aka ni obi se nyon na kan obi se me na me yewe san nsem ni nyina ye pese e bi ani na ye ma ohun se asem no san netie President John Dramani Mahama so about responded to the air question because of call London na no ye bisa no question or responding and what na adwen e wo ho said ya osusu se ba beto ne konwa so a ne table so a obesan ana onsan ono so ansa e wo ho so obehwa KWAME na afanya market o ye minority leader and so and the latest news here and say also obi ahake ne Facebook because wakotro ne mebi egu ho there's a video evidence too sansam na also obi ahake no ye woni nyina wo ha ye passe emra no so no mpanifo the majority leader and some okan here the minority side and some omo kan here and the trending news a e kan ho nyina na ebetimi dia bra na nwumre once again media ne KWAME fresh lofty bitwa mo abasisi na ma introduce my guest no e dia ma
it's $1,500. For producing an ounce of gold, it's $1,500. And so if the gold price moves to say 2,300 with a 5% of royalty is good enough for a mining company. It makes it investable. Now, we've seen some mines that all-in costs about less than $1,000 to produce an ounce. 900, 800 with recent mines that we have seen. Again, 500 5% royalties, even if it's 1,008, makes sense. But what if
that issue is foreclosed, except when you are aggrieved with the ruling? Then what you should do is per our rules. Minority Leader, you are forcing me to say that you are completely out of order. I don't want to say it, but on this occasion, I will want to say that you are deliberately, completely out of order. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, he is not out of order innocently. Mr. Speaker, he is guilty of obstructing the passage of this bill. He doesn't want this bill passed. And so he will be raising all sorts of issues to impede the passing of this bill. But I want to assure him that this bill will be passed. And when it is passed, the President will give his assent. There will be no directive to the clerk of this Parliament to cease and desist presenting the bill to the Presidency. There will be no threat to the clerk of this Parliament. So please let us take the bill through the consideration stage. This Parliament has indicated to Ghanaians that within the next 2 weeks, fortnight, we want this bill passed. So cooperate with us and let's pass the bill.
Honourable members, I'll put a question on the second amendment by the chairman of the committee. Honourable Minority Leader, I have indulged you.
Mr. Speaker.
I have the
Mr.
patience
Speaker,
for you. I have listened
Mr. Speaker,
for you.
He's made certain
litigation must come to an end.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, he is the majority leader. If it were to be me, you would demand that the right thing to be done. Mr. Speaker, let's be fair. He cannot impute improper motive. In argument in the House, you counter-argue and you argue. You cannot impute improper motive. Mr. Speaker, that submission must be ordered, Mr. Speaker, and say must be expunged from the...
So, I agree. So, the statement that Honorable Alexander Afanyo-Markins does not want the bill to be passed and he's deliberately obstructing, I ordered it to be...
Dia etwagu sisi ana eya bra na e wo mrahye bedwefie the first deputy speaker of parliament otena adwamu a na omopese mra no omopase abra na majority leader honorable Mahama Yariga enso e kire de na minority leader Kwame na Afanyo-Markins so e kan nchechire mu no eni bi na ote na ma me introduce my guest enumre na he's one of us on so maybe ayana me ne ta di share di dwumade we e de bra joa kemako aba na pom tisen
lofty now sorry
ne mekoyi
pa ahode wo ho ya yetim betina ha di nkomo de na se ne mekoyi ma pa
ye da nyame ase pa ya ma me hwe in the whole bill ya ye passing na no efa LGBTQ no na unim se you be passing in tentem and say who said it was in Obiana says the Kuntuna snakes and been a and a buy.
Yeah, I think it's a very significant day in Ghana. I think say almost Obi Ghana have been bill we take here by surprise.
Yes.
Say we knew say it was under review. I think say the last parliament inquiry here there was no indication say bill near ready say be pass it.
Yeah.
There were I think there was a forum cry na some George ne
Reverend team
for John religious bodies near other things somewhere and you did say buildings like building blocks to the law passage. I think say it me call third reading about passage within that short period no a shocky obia. And but I think that significantly name be free as well as you bit makoyenim. I think that this LGBT issue see our like your national discourse me I think that started from somewhere 2021. Is it from somewhere 2021? I'm for your margin say more pass LGBT mara LGBT. I think say try to pay home office.
Yes.
And because now a woman a banner I think say various presidents have given their verdicts about how how I treat LGBT in them, but going forward, we've not had any concrete until 2002 when the first bill was promulgated. By private members bill, some George in the group, in for Germany, a certain group in Parliament, so more push with the backing of the Christian community, the Islamic community, and other things. So more bakiyama, mrabise yaba. But the internet I'm running here, no. I was one of the panami GDP say, you see LGBT issue, no, not Ghana. Your mrao hodada, and yes, I'm running hokra, mrao hodada, which but not a border more on the sexual relationship rather than the general one. Now I'm cover on natural canal.
Yes,
that means only on yes. And then I don't know, Jamran is a bit vague. Can lawyer for our committee and natural canal, you know. A man never break cry and the Bromunia gay cry, and no sutiamra.
Yes.
And no sutiamra, Sebia, Obedia Kosho be a no matter all those is the tiamra because
Hong can be
also
for you.
Those issues in the Bapa. I think that I was on the point where said, baby, one way the law courts, no, ebe kobe be a yempe and a yepe, independent of where you stand. And until you also a shamra. The shamra their names who say, oh yenisa say no wakaba. So I think that a building up park of Mrs. Zia drew a Siamrana passing. But you know, we would going forward the effect of it and other things. You know, where some will be say near man never be a cost upon say Mrabi saying and Ghana and Juana effects in the war. International interest women other things. I think that going forward they may break it down the impact of it on Ghana and the impact of
so in general now a surprise to you
very much.
Very much. Anti-LGBTQ plus. Okay. My main chance in free the original version of the bill now Abrana President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo now owa bemu de econo that's the 2024 I could do no office. No office I could do on na see the baby about say you see a pass anti-LGBTQ bill on sign and a President John Dramani Mama the secretary the Nana Bedia to Asante secretary to the president or Trocrata tintin or the by the transmission of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Value Bill 2024 na ohen nsem kan na min kan ni nyina de ba ba bi obo nkofo bi nu din a Richard the Last Sky ene Dr. Amanda Odoi say omu nyina de akọ Supreme Court a ye twen say Supreme Court betimi a resolve issue na wie ansa na President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo etimi asan in the same letter no so no e be to bia say ye say the then Attorney General Godfred Yebo Adami ena oye obia or the adversary president on train ema court Supreme Court case no enwi ansa na watimi asan do things na President President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo the then no president no nanka we obetimi apase asan aka say yenhwe ewi obia our problem and then nko Supreme Court na ya amend ne enya niam ana.
Technically speaking, bill na meto na do anim. No correct.
That is fact.
That is a fact.
Yes.
Bill na meto. I think say wo hwe letter na Santi Bedi to twere na or try to stop parliament say parliament ma mfa makra na asem wo ho. Yes.
Vice President, Chief of Staff, the Attorney General, Minister for Justice, and the Majority Leader, Parliament House. Or more copy,
but we address it to the Clerk of Parliament.
Yes.
Say, man, for Macra, now some more. Just some more idea. My young guys, some years and audio, but technically, I'm running uncle sin Nanado and him.
Okay.
But I think that PR was one of Nanado, Abano. A lot of how handle information around it now more.
Okay.
Or more hide you say now or hide behind case no court. And I'm for raise issues say na say E-level so be ascent na court na case court.
Then so
also ascent here with the excuse say abeda on him and his agent and those things. So na say majority of Ghanaians and I think that a lot of majority of Ghanaians say almost support this bill now. The internet no there e draw there I will say court case on for me I think that's where I'm one now do the communication around it no man chiremu yie an chire Ghana for say way say baby I drew no you know, court and
this
actual restraint. Good.
And I believe say Mrano so my president kwan say said the Mrano baby e dia bra na wo yes sign no. Say wo hwe na hwe na me bi wo no wani nje ho anaso hu ni say enkoyi a wo betimi refer to that's the Council of State.
Yes.
Omo two president for no. Ama omo ahwem.
Yes.
Omo hwem wi a na omo so akire say bia wo betimi asan na say da bi ye ne say yen sesan wo yansa.
Or you can take it back to Parliament.
That is it. The now president Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo then obetimi.
Yeah, there are a lot of options but to sue say oh enya me o me dey go to her which looked like safe. Okay. But it wasn't really, and it didn't do him a lot of good. Opinion up to people who are like, oh, okay, on your own side, because we say that's all side. I don't know question had another partner say, also guarantee interview be. Okay, say it's bound to happen.
Yes.
So I interview no guy say it's bound to happen. A lot of people were suspicious of him, whether he was going to assent to the law or not, which and I think which really affected him as president. So yes, I think that Attorney General, but unim Attorney who say already now Attorney General ne comments about the then Attorney General the comments about the law.
Okay.
That was a proposed law, no? And he did it under the mandate say. Yeah, the ababia kokota ye fra Attorney General. That means that say my way you passing say me and ambassador from say me defend them until munti am afuto sisi ya.
Okay.
And he raised a number of issues in that letter no Ochrekoma clerk of parliament. Also Ochrekoma clerk of parliament.
Okay.
On Ochrekoma on the 19th October 2022.
Okay.
Abraham Randy Kamba, no 19th October 2022. Attorney General, in fact, the chairman of the Constitutional Legal and Parliamentary Affairs.
Our Parliament.
Okay. Say, Mraya mo consider Moment Kabi. Because obey the Parliament, obey the Abai Mua Ibia Kokota, men ambassador frame say me.
I think the junior bet me the not to swam yashi.
Yes.
Now, letter.
It was a request for memoranda. Until I don't know, or raise a number of issues in this letter, which are very legitimate. You could not as a number one, rights. The number of rights. In fact, the way the memoranda is sought to deny rights like deny the rights of people. Or more. In this situation,
okay.
I think specifically, one particular group from intersex.
Okay.
Intersex for a woman or
yeah, we that I know, or body or be mad.
And on it's okay to deny no certain rights and certain you are not being fair to that person.
Yes.
And now you are breaching. Who say constitution? I say maybe I did, but no must agree with the constitution. And human rights no so constitution. So the mrabi if abontin ba untimi fa mra ba ebebu constitution
so that
which was the right for no discrimination everything. And part of that bill included say LGBT ni ehu they say Dr. Biama healthcare.
Yes.
Unya the right of legal representation. And what say those things it's not like it's not something that you have it's a fundamental human right. It's something I was say unya. It means shamra says deno because of I think that's one of the issues he raised. That's the issue of rights.
Okay.
I so there is issues about financial settlement, which is that Parliament was a private member bill. Niama a long time a private member bill enkono. Enko the name say private member bill no like a friend say saban e de no nkasa ne bill kwa e ho kan nyina ye neka.
Yes.
Nemum say obi fufuro ye fete be a all love to be a member of parliament now the law ko say yem pass ya eni say sa mra no e de kabre aban.
Yes.
So the eni say sa mra de kabre aban. But this private member bill was proposing prison term, counseling, all those things in there. That's
so
I think that he raised that issue, which was another very legitimate point. I feel so already issues about like because for instance the law already defines when Ghana and register the Marriage Act takes care of that. Like there are several other acts taking care of several aspects. They were past say, oh, LGBT for no prey on children. The Children Act takes care of that. In fact, Children Act is one of the strictest law
okay.
Strictest laws. In fact, say, and my main fan where they say, sir, child porn, child crime, be done for a channel. See who know phones why you miss out here. According to the child, you who side of phones why you are guilty.
Yes, what tomorrow?
So
the moment you phone, so
the nakedness, phone, so what tomorrow?
Yeah.
And that part protects the children. And he raised several other issues. They matters like Oresia, which was legitimate. I first of all say interpretation of the law. No, say first of all say, part of the offenses need be a move from misdemeanor, which is a serious, felony. But similar offenses in other contexts are not felonies. So inconsistency in the law. He raised other critical stories about say journalists. In fact, part of that law is a journalist who LGBT story. Now is to the advantage of the LGBT group now. Story, yes. Which is against press freedom. There are a lot of these issues. So raising, yeah, I think it was legitimate. So for me, say with the Attorney General raising all these issues, and then the new bills comes and be passed, and then the MPP opposes it. But
okay, so until the original one I could do another than Kwakufado anymore. One for pay insist one sign. Amanama Yembrano. It has to do with the same sex. Yes, say Madam Bamuntimi and worry. And then the can say Obia or LGBTQ plus or advocate no promote and Obia. Why not just supposed to form a group or mono from LGBT4 and public display of same sex affection.
Yes.
Someone on Wabon Tiamo say much as a modern Betty Zankophobia mobile. Kwame baby Kwame Nkrumah Jina or ye we are and also once and baby. And media and educational content perceive.
Yes.
Perception,
yes.
Perceive to support LGBTQ plus,
which was the dangerous part.
Yes, perceive. That's the perception.
Yeah, you say.
So what? Nipa no kura dwen ye say. So and I say what bu nipa no you.
Yes. Because it was a lot more dangerous. In fact, a man say, ye chiwa. Like for instance, your child accused you of LGBT. Who responsibility of action on your LGBT? No, obey anything. See, your boss say, lofty. You suspect you himself we engineer at Chowako police station. Now, one also who said normally no, your chiwa, Nipako child never say now we know you're guilty. Where dear, one never say oh yes, and then anything.
This look, like me, who are overcome, anything. Tell me that I'm a sir.
Professor.
We knew how we say proven.
After they were, in fact, you can't say Mrabi or but it was a bad law. You can't no credit. First one day, it was a horrible law. In fact, now a Marcus Kura police in this one, and our police in Mewa Group, like almost there was a mandate to arrest. There was a clause of a mandate to arrest. You this away LGBT. Yet me organizing who becho.
Okay.
Near Chewa, I also had to come up Ohene. And imam and now sofu bi o area ho se on bedru ona se abro e de oni na
okay
nothing protects you because ukura won't mean kofa lawyer kura me protect who say we say okay for me it was a very problematic law
but you better as yen hwe abra no mo be pass new one ya e won so controversies about ye trend no the majority leader and so the comment o make e wo ho yentie majority leader so sama o kan e wo na anu ya na mo pass LGBTQ plus no.
Those are the clauses that we are discussing. So when you run into the chamber, you can argue, you can look at the clauses. If you have opposition, some of us have had opposition to some of the clauses. We've moved for deletion and it's been deleted. But this your attitude of coming in and shouting left and right as if we're engaged in a shouting match doesn't help. Doesn't help. Nobody in this country will be deceived. As for the last election, you lost it. You cannot cure your loss of the last election by any kind of gimmicks in this chamber. It will not help. You had an excellent opportunity. We proposed the bill. Reverend Ntim Forger and co, your members, joined and sponsored the bill. And when we debated the bill, nobody in this house,
was the leader of the house.
Nobody in this house under your leadership
And we passed.
opposed it. The day we were voting on it, we voted on it unanimously. Mr. Speaker, you were not opposing anything. You went and brought the same bill back. You changed the clauses. You appended your signature as a sponsor to the bill. It was referred to the committee. As for watering it down, this is a proposal coming from the committee. You are free to argue for or against it. If you are against it, we'll put it to a vote. If you are for it, we'll put it to a vote. At the end of the day, the basic question is, if a person accused of LGBTQ is put before the courts, should that person have a right to a lawyer? That's the basic question. The basic question is, if a person accused of LGBTQ goes to the courts, goes to a hospital, should the person be denied medical services? The issue is, a journalist, can he report a matter relating to LGBTQ in the media? If a journalist or a media house, let's say City FM, Joy FM, reports matters relating to LGBTQ, should we accuse them of supporting or promoting or whatever? If an academic does a research on LGBTQ, can he publish the research findings? These are the questions that have been raised, which the committee that we refer the matter to have considered and brought us specific proposals for us to consider. How does that amount to the NDC government or NDC members of parliament watering down the provisions?
Eji we majority leader Yerua Mahama Yariga and someone no can bransana na omo passe emrano mrahye bedwefie no ba owia na ensem a no kan ho asem no revision kakra na o maye ewum no one and say obi a ohia old bail no a omo de koma na ado a one pass no yes se nyame ya adom na ye chew se we LGBTQ a unni ho kwan so kofa lawyer ye ma lawyer ba revision no revise one say wo kwan se obenya ye yi sa de na fi ho wo kwan se obetimi anya legal representation. 2 yes say wo ye LGBTQ+ and say medical and mental health professional be provide health care or counseling service to you. Sa mrada da no sa na net you and a new one say omu yi sa de na free say so be LGBTQ+ or wakwanya so obetimi akọ hospital ewom doctor bi betimi ahwe no obetimi ama na futuo se aduru obetimi anom ne sa na emeni nyina no obi betimi ahwe no ena ne etoso mienu so omu yi say journalists and media house reporting on LGBTQ+ issues say ye central fan kan na ye ti ha ye kan asemu yi so obi dwen say de ye ka no say bi ye promote LGBTQ ano an say watch video no na ode yakọ court na je say ye ho aba asema ye ntimi enkoyi ano no eno sa amra no omo se da bi yenso ye hu bi na enya ye betimi aka ye betimi ama nkofa kire omo adwen yenso ye betimi akire ya adwen ye betimi aka ho asema report sa amra no eno omo ye den omo san yi free o se de be ya in central funds ye be na freedom Drake ma yenhwe with this eno so be take controversy o mrahye bedwefia na honorable KWAME na afenyo mark enti ne ho ahye why
enya afenyo mark kwa na enti ne ho ahye o kan say ade achi no it's for job honorable enso ye press conference mra na nye no na dende I think that argument was like ka was kamra na do I see
no o pass LGBTQ+ unya lawyer ultimate fa lawyer in central for ye ntimi nka ho asem o ye LGBT kwa untimi nka hospital doctor bi ani ho betimi
oh sure near that and it's even more the wom you know the term promotion no it wasn't properly defined it's now in fact na movie kra LGBT wom kra na say illegal Ghana what I say a movie like movie any those things was all part of it and for me I'm gonna say like it was a very bad law because and yet we say Ghana most of our legal principle reign on say you are innocent until proven guilty. You are in that means that mrano action say oh something they too so wouldn't for yes kyerɛ sɛ wotumi adi for but we deɛ nko adeɛ yɛkyew we asɛ we nko adeɛ a wodi for until sɛ wobɛkyerɛ sɛ wonni for and for me it was a very difficult aspect but I think that's a lot of the commentary now number of things society still the same sex relationship is still criminalized our branding is still criminalized I will say the criminalization of promotion, sponsorship, and advocacy. If I say NGOB, or describe promoting, those ones that are still illegal under the law. Say mandatory reporting and obligation. Say who say LGBT activities going where you are supposed to report. Who need the power of arrest. But reporting. Because I mean, yet is what I love him so what na krakra. When him say around Jamestown ho baby. Tuesdays bars bi wo ho omo na ye omo na ma ho. E no say wo ho obetuma ko report.
Yes.
Say oh area Tuesday
you say and I mean who say
yes, and they are suspicious and those is into for those things na nina that's what I'm running. Yes, you know, restrictions of funding of LGBT activity. Say still na no yent me mfa sika aban na as a private money enko hye LGBT niam mu. And also that's what Tiamra no. First say criminal liability for institutions supporting LGBT. That means that organization say be a wow you say what do you and I would do company LGBT still I know so that's what Tiamra. And also that's what Tiamra. Now so you know broad criminalization of identity expression. Say be a name na utie be kura because the letters not also QA plus A D and bebre or say still now who portrays are still are that's what Tiamra.
Yes me for we twede yes obi a oye na ade o say utimi ye de o pe bi anti na obi apa keneka e na okogina aka na ni
yeah
ene e ka che ne so on sorry free car na ni ma o say wadani dua so wadani dua or right so bit ma ga so wadani dua
into waka
into onjimi mu bi na ogina aka ni nipa na ka bi o sister wadani dua ene nipa so ki wadani dua de na hwe no kwatan ni ka no spark car for the speed by dua na movie no they were say we band there is under dua
it's for me I think that you know there are parts of this which are good but there are also part of it are be worrying say one here what's a actual law nankasa emmaye hu exactly what is there the entire make say actual law no my hu exactly but say me who remedy say amwa ben and the one from the time my LGBT issues about one of my yana me talk up and say yenti me ka say enye yenti me ka say yam punish nipa no na agya ho sorry no aban dey na moye mo ben because in parents ko dey na ye because unim edu ba bia nkola bebre you could do SS and other things and I exposed to some of these things apart from your neighborhood and other things SS and other things who ye nimumpo ye nim dey was ye as
Christian
community and as a Ghanaian community one no bad in come say hey who go school ya na say one na mi be so obey you say enye sa net e say man to akora ntimansa
have you forgotten say ya man mu na say bia wo fie na ya be ma na yonko be ma be srawa na one ne wo dem a o ma me
nka bad yes
ko ba say oba ni be ma hyedem de aka na wo ame be wura aso be fa de oboa but samuye mema mienu na mo hye obi enka
hwe and I think that it's high time says any man be jai like say man you say enye say be jai we keep an eye see no we as na ye wom na sesa
yes
do do na say oh enye sa na te hwe lazam ka to be say first for enye ente sania LGBT for no go ships mu no mo ba Ghana de ka say yempene mo mma ye nkwala me make SS yetiti supi or secondary schools yetiti se mebre ebi wo papa bi wo area bi ye nim se so yes
ba kwa metati pa ye se obi a omo ye coasting no ba ko bi no ta ye pa
no yes that's omo ko chi obi otakrade
no so ye coasting
on me ka say sa trusted people ya maye ni anko na say oh we dey o sofo ye ginidi oh we dey o coach ye ginidi oh we dey ne wofa o ginidi e wo se ye sha say hu say first of all obia timi ye obia nti eni say ma ye gas down on anyone
yes
it's a very critical thing I was say because ya hwe ya me hear Mamrana by the remedies ben or the Ashishim.
Okay.
Because we are fast education anyway na Shishima. Near Chiama, I feel Obiko exposed we are fair na obey a boha here. Boha Gary. Boha a fence and milk. Like no man can give me the training room.
Yes.
So all the sentences ya hwe na say ya masa anema no ansolve sa anema na maya. Then we get into issues where afi na be oh ye doso my right by you say ye tikuo and that is and giving right
be to about yaw.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And they do that.
Yeah.
They do that. And for me I think that it was a let me share Mran remedy ben amrana deba. Sa remedy na amrana deba na en na be kire. Say mrano ebe wo because we say as me ya make say mra e ma you know me ya make police but mra say what you sunti mra e ma police enyes ka de e nya mra papa o mra e ma police enyes ka nya mra papa
say o che na wait ma bo aso na video wa ja
yes ina ene mra enya obvious police in the becho
yes
and because nti ade ya nipa ye ne dem de uba ko hwe mpumam
dabi another way then
so what I say for me I think that we should do more preventive stuff than the punitive bits of it. Say be sure but we have to also hear more preventive than punitive. I never boama yet ready of society of some of these things.
So Osha Reverend team for your ekankofoa omo advocate on Sam Nate George
yes
and omo advocate for sa be we say and go through na parliament intimi pass ema but after say na one day the NDC or Mwaba be mo so mutimi e pass and Reverend team for your press conference yentie in Brazil here.
President Mahama promised that this bill passed in 2024. That's what he promised that he would sign. He didn't promise to sign an amended, deleted, mutilated, and surgically bastardized bill. He didn't promise that he would sign another version of that. And that's the reason why, when he even promised that he was bringing his own version of the bill today, he hasn't brought it. Because he's perhaps waiting for the 2024 one. So what is so difficult in Parliament giving that old one to him? What at all is wrong in the old one that NDC don't want to give to President Mahama to sign? He promised that he would sign. He didn't.
Why? I don't know, Reverend Team for your make that commentary.
So I think you're moving from the listen to the political football of it. So they talk about political football and say
Reverend Team for you.
Yes.
And any for be Reverend Team for you and say in Kayamfa old one the man another than Kufado.
Yes.
Yamfa no the same one and Vancoma President John Domani Mama Nonsan.
I want to make and say the obvious difficulties and another face here.
It can emphasize difficulty and Nkoma.
Yes. And that has been all the MPP communicators and it's like Mrana ni akoni man another no one was a card my but Mrami no nko parliament.
Mrami no ntimi nko.
In fact say who follow Mrabi no yasa repeated the same thing akọ parliament bi. That's the truth.
Ekọ na samba.
Inti like the only opportunity we had to pass sa 2024 there no. Me gidi say Mrabone ni 2024 no.
Yes. 2024 then na Mrabone.
Na but
the only chance na another dan Akufo-Addo ansan. But me gidi say kana nyama asesa te said ya ne ayeya. Ka president na dan Akufo-Addo ko besan.
You will never know.
Because be on no. So a human right lawyer.
Yes.
It is anima we na na ewo ma ya say ya preventive say wuntimi enkohu doctor so intimi nhwew and centrofo ye intimi nkan wansem na wo kan wansem ekwesa say wo ye promotion and obi so ye LGBTQ+ and so say be wuntimi mfa lawyer so unya case bi ti say intimi mfa lawyer no me ji say na na dan Akufo-Addo no ye obi a human right lawyer no say the lawyer against it.
Okay, so since no you against it, you also call you and say one. There's so there's presidential veto.
Okay.
Now your presidential, like president a bit mass hammer parliament. Parliament, ma pass him brande, but me who say a problem. It's within the authority of the president to do that. It didn't 1 year, sir. Oh, the share. Be na you want me na sign, but be na e da kokko.
And I'm not no a coward. Me why near song am
well, you find say no I do also no 1 year.
1 year. Okay.
So and for me I say the solution would have been say on the comments. On the comments.
But then the comment it is bound to happen there. What you can want some that.
Exactly because so the comments no any bet say hey na obeya na nka boy because oya no ban say oh blow no there me gitumo but article say clause say e ho no nye nti mo hwe ho ni mame na yan clarify ho nanse yasan a eno no wo ma ya hu ni view what today na do views pa officially on the law there.
It's bound to happen.
No, make on the law. Say about to happen here, the whole LGBT situation. Okay. But this promotion of proper human rights and Ghanaian family values bill, no, the views on air. You have no idea.
Yeah, maintain the views.
You have no idea. Inti say if you have no idea, therefore we cannot impugn like we're opening home for good and bad interpretation. Okay. Your parents say, oh, we intina 1 year. No parents say, oh, or for us intina 1 year. Okay. Intina was saying, or no, the council could take charge at that time. Say, hey, Mrai, we the problem home. Mon mame. Na parliament, we mean to me, Shemra, president to me, yes, sir. Today intina 1 year, sir. For me, that's a major question.
Back to Reverend Jim for Jones commenting.
On their politics. I think they're politics.
So do you have to play politics with everything?
Because it was to the detriment of the MPP. So okay, I think 2 weeks, last month or so, it should be in the LGBT Samba. I think that President Mahama.
Yes.
I think that one of the, he made a comment or something like that.
Or can say, no, any priority.
Good. The NSC, it was like, oh, no, see on sign, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what I say. So for me, I think it was because it went to and for me there's a pattern. I mean, why I actually told him say there's a certain pattern. So Adibia call to the detriment of MPP. No, even if it's slightly close, almost say no.
Yes.
Recently, MTA almost say e-levy. So private. So one private organization impose e-levy. So you realize that there's a certain pattern of say assembly seer. They have to say, okay, you push it towards the same thing. Say, yeah, the same thing. The same thing. I am. For me, I think because of politics, no. Because say, unsigned, it gave us an opportunity to really look at the law, to really look at the law and fix the things that needed to be fixed, and prepare for the things that we needed to prepare for. Okay. And for me, I know I can't be one of the blocks to Nanado, and I bear the way all there was. Maintain say Obiaka said the new law is bad.
Okay.
Because I water down. I think that honorable Bafo Mansha.
Yes, Mansha
South.
Okay.
Honorable Bafo no is local festival.
Yeah. Bafo
Bafo good. Now I'll make some points. Bafo yes. You saw some of the comments he made.
Okay.
So the comments, then you realize that the whole thing is about near cotton and that, like near Kaosaka, me passing and another, and no one can expect some me passing.
Okay.
But then the question is, I say, now MPP members are more constitutional and legal committee. No, what are their comments?
Okay.
Because and yet a unilateral year, if the committee nearby, and almost no one on that committee has spoken from the MPP side.
Okay.
All Makasani and I are outsiders and stuff like who are not necessarily involved in the new bill. Like maybe they were part of the old bill or they never even spoke about the old bill. Yeah. New bill you buy and they are saying something. And for me, which is a bit worrying for me. But so far, me then say the Constitutional and Legal Council, the Constitutional and that committee handles I don't know, or more members, members. What was the deliberation that went on there?
Okay,
I leave it to.
Okay, yeah. Then any on Obuasa for J. The minority, no other minority leaders, members in the so commenter or make you on that issue. No, yenti almost comment kakrambra. Surely not entire discussion so now. because omo comment kakra no mo de ba no mo nsem no mo kana na no so kire se nsesan ya omo de eba wo sa mra we mu no ama mra no se bi wi nim mra na hodin bi anim mra na ntimi nya hwe ntimi nchi obia mra na ntimi nya obia hwe mra na de ehu se da bi esensa kire igbo mu ni sa na ema ni nyina no ema Reverend Tim Fordjour on the floor of parliament no ono so make comment o wie ya o san ba a chile gba kan say obey press conference or say one ono wa hokro ni nsa free mra ya wo parliament si ano mra wo parliament si ano o wa hokro ni nsa timi e de free ho nti so hokro nsa free ho sa na ya na assembly bibiri but eno no nkomobo I believe say ye hwese ebetimi ama tiefo nso atimi ahwe bi na amwatimi atimi comment on that. So with that, before video ne beba no ye hwese o ti comment bi ta o can be saying
let me say it's the same thing about the forced equalization.
Okay,
for me I think that's the only thing you can use to explain ne ekosui. Say mrada beto ye no na abantia because me say okay, so what is wrong with the current bill? Because enya mrada ni use say ebechi nipa gum.
Yes.
Ana if enya mrada yes yeah they guide nipa behavior.
Yes.
Now like the Bromini lawyers or mother prison nipa or mother prison or more lawyers nipa ketwa.
Okay. Yeah, kwani entie ne honorable Asafo Jay ene honorable Reverend Tim Fordjour so etimi kan yentie bi mbrasisia.
Opinions, the speaker, including the report of news and current affairs by the media house or journalists in other courses of the journalism. Mr. Speaker, the point we are making here is that if you even see the proposal and the footnote, it said the rationale is to create an exemption for these categories of activity that may otherwise impugn under Section 2. Mr. Speaker, this is just watering down the point that you wanted the Kufuor to sign in 2028, for which reason people had issues. So today it is clear, Mr. Speaker, today it is clear that you are exempting all these people under this bill, which is not the same bill you asked the Kufuor to sign.
The provision of medical, surgical, psychological, or counseling services in accordance with accepted professional practice, which exemption was not part of the bill you wanted a Kufuor to sign, and F, the reporting of news or current affairs by a media house or a journalist in the ordinary course of journalism, and the performance of a public health functions, including HIV and AIDS, prevention, testing, treatment, and care, which same testament was given by the Ghana AIDS Commission before the full glare of this country in our live telecast that they provide condoms, lubricants, and other aids for persons living with HIV who are known LGBT members, so that they will go about their absurd sexual experiences. And yet this government wants to make assumption under this law. That is not the law we sponsored in the 8th Parliament. That is not the law we are sponsoring today. If the government is minded to pass their own law of a sort, which will grant all these exceptions, the very places we are trying to clamp down on, that can be a separate law. But so long as the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill is concerned, these exceptions are alien. These are not the exceptions in the Ugandan bill that was passed. These are not the exceptions in the Senegalese bill that was passed. These are not the exemptions granted in any of the countries that we are going to host next week, who have passed these laws and whom we are proud to host them in this very chamber. We are planning to host them. When they passed their bill, they didn't give any of these exceptions, because that is where the real problem is. These are the people sponsoring, supporting, making these activities rather attractive behind the scenes and even sometimes overtly. And so if I find it highly problematic, any attempt by this House to push any of these exceptions in, we will resist it. And if the House will use their majority numbers to push it through, I, as a sponsor, will advise myself accordingly.
Very well. You are entitled to advise yourself. Yes, majority leader.
Eti we na Reverend Tim Fordjour horo nsa every sabi no said they will oppose it. How was it the majority no we say yeah they have their numbers, but I say do baby na so market almost.
Well, I mean, I think like that was bound to happen. Say they'll use their numbers to push it through. But point back on person making this. Because last month?
Okay.
Or more years forum. No. Emma, there's a trans guy be or is it in the US or something?
Okay.
Trans guy mean or say it's for joining a boyfriend.
Educator.
No, back be on ya. It's for car.
Educator and I know so. Yeah,
there's another educator on no Ghana.
Okay.
But there's another guy be or trans, I think or UK or so.
Okay.
Okay, say it's for joy and on it for joy tell she and other things. You can think after that accusation, it's for joy continue to find lawyer and fan go see you say no see you no.
Yes. We want to be a lawyer.
If it was this law, if it was the 2024 law, yes. Nka ti for your grant me enkofa lawyer go see sa man no
e ja den na baby e bedu ye de o se da bi
no because that part is the political part. That part is politics. Because
so ye ja integrity the twin your politics.
No, because listen to say this is not the same law that first honorable no kasa and friend say asafaji this is not the law that was put in front of another. So what does that mean?
That time no one a majority leader.
Afanyo market.
And what happened?
Exactly. Yeah, because so they couldn't. Honestly, I think that is it was like, and I think that's what my majority leader Honorable Ayarega can say. You cannot relitigate the elections here.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot litigate the elections here because like first and was a kawo no one yet. Obi abaya say I don't know yen sir. Yes, even the Attorney General complained about aspects of the law.
Mm-hmm.
Man can't. In fact, I think that it borns out of even the frustration of Speaker by Ebebaho.
Okay.
Now was just because certain things were in the law, certain people were so entrenched on getting it, and I think that's why the Honorable Ayarega took this route. Say quickly, young person in free. Say right now, no, anyone who tries to correct it, but he was repeal the law.
Yes.
I say what? I feel Mrana Medru. And me do a pass. Yes, I want to pass here. So for me, I think that honest truth, I think this is a compromise. This is a compromise between the hardliners and those who are not against it. Okay, see, there's some law, there's a bit of exemption, there's a bit of leeway, there's a flexibility in it. Instead of that strict law, no. One thing is that Uganda passed the law. I think Honorable Intimfojo referred to Rwanda, but their implementation is different.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't really stopped anything going on in Rwanda. Senegal they new. In fact, like some of us who know people around, like in Uganda, other countries, you hear they talk about some of these things. Nothing really has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really has changed. Why don't we have a more pragmatic law? Right, which my implementing here. Now see, they have a children who children born after you and I'm making a police and yes, because you have a chill. Now say, okay, say, uko dama. Ubet yes, can bet your man is akoda. And that's why the problem is. Yamra, more pragmatic a bit my implementing.
Yamra, the minority leader, Kwame Afenya marking so.
Yeah.
So Osha. Time 2024 ye pass LGBTQ mrano e wo mrahye bibifia bill no that's the right way akase na na dan kwa kufu ado besi amana ba ye mrano oko granting interview wo TV3 ye nkona ye ntie sa interview no emra na ye mehwe we are na development ni sabi ya mo pass we so de waka afa ho aba ye ntie interview on TV3 ye na mra sisia.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hello.
eti we na ye interview a ekọ so ma kwame na afenyo marking enso ene TV3 Belamundi enso so etimi ya omonso etimi chichirim na ochire se na mra ne tie ne na enye wo mu ne ese yi film na san komogbo na otimi eka bi but obahwa na anu yanzu ye ko pass mra ne nzu wie ye no he has made a comment eno kwa ba social media nkofo bebre enso etuoro na wabeka se da bi ono no hu ni se bimpreduasa obi na ayede ewura ne na account mu that's on Facebook ojidi se saade ne yade obi na ewura na account mu de ha no na no so quick no there's a video che se the okan on Facebook no ene the okan na no the say my yama won hwe video ni bi se wo hwe post e ba ya o say and you know what go ho obaka say enyo na tro ani ni me kan mo atibi o say a law that imprisons people for sexual orientation or who they choose to love does not protect society. It simply selects a group of human beings and make their existence a crime. That is a line no parliament in a civilized world should cross. Let me just take it again. A law that imprisons people for their sexual orientation or who they choose to love does not protect society. It simply selects a group of human make their existence a crime. That is a line no parliament in the civilized world should cross. When I ask someone, Kwame na friend my go and the X that the Twitter handle or the 12:18 p.m. around and that is 2nd June 2026 year and the tour. But about told that or see there be obi na hacking the system no and aba. But yen hwe video or didn't announce so na kan ya. Yen hwe video no quickly.
Go to jail by virtue of that. Personally, I don't think that somebody claiming to be a lesbian or gay should go to jail by virtue of that. Personally, I don't think that somebody claiming to be a lesbian or gay should go to jail by virtue of that. Personally, I don't think that somebody.
It is a wutie dia osahene Kwame na afenyo marking ekaye with a video voice video no ene ne no watwe na mo san fan de okaye no watwe no so fan to but the baba told us say say fake. How do we believe say the otwe ye ene the okaye difference ne den the same thing the okaye no eno na watwe so ho but later na baba say oh you say fake ono akata so obi na ewura ne sister nim what is your comment on Afenyo marking on someone Abba and Kofokebu on this issue?
Honorable Afenyo marking, I think that's I can say one way you car. One way you car because I think that way any different from the views our express. I think it's about videos video Belamundi yes. We are no free wa. A bra your passes amra way the first one in 2024. The first one in 2024, no. Honorable Afenyo marking, he made the same point on the floor of Parliament.
Okay.
The same thing. In fact, Joy offer my joy like 8 February 2024.
Okay.
That's passing rano. Joy online as a deputy majority leader disproves custodial sentence for LGBT activities.
Okay.
Inti say offer say it's consistent with the views our.
And yet the same thing. Now then, and you obey deny say one cancer no be hacking the system.
Now, okay, even aside Belamundi, our interview be on Joy.
Okay.
Joy, and so he made the same points. That was after Onya backlash after he raised this issue. No?
Okay.
He went and granted that interview on Joy or making the same points. I don't think that is very different from we. And it stayed for long. And so Obeka say fake near other things. It was online for long. And so
if you are not foot work crabem and I say friends, I like the doctor moment but my friends say hey or saying you now someone there one shot. Yeah, that's some baby.
So I think that's what occurred. I think they be a goofy.
Okay. Now Goofy Abeka say Pacho just apologize. She said you here be wo mra shebe Goofy obo apologize. You want me repeat this or apologize for that. They will be saying yeah. Dan say you all have video na e buy no. As compared to the trainer the same. Into another video ni AI. No, we say video I mean TV3 and some even the Joy FM story. AI na. Even the Joy FM ni na say that those are no fake. I don't think that those views are outside. But that then why is he running away from? Because say I'm moving from rationality to politics. Okay. For me, hono and I'm issue. I move from rationality to politics, and the point is that the party position is that nothing about this new law is good. I was like, so even if we are now will view. About another day and we are party member, you cannot have that position anymore. Okay. And that's the problem right now. And your men kasa no, you can choose to not talk. Tell your men kasa. Yes, I want to man once. You can see Obi our address come one kasa who say na adwen na adwen. Bible can say even a fool when he keeps quiet is considered wise. That is it. I think that one of those things I think that honorable Afenyo Market Afenyo Market Osahene that is the way there Ajumana Dino. Okay. Ajumana Dino, and I think that the easiest way out before better as say Ghana Shebako. Yeah. The friendly match cause anyway no. Ghana team Shebako. I think say we go because omokra omanko wake up ni. Say we dey say friendly match ya brepa it is Shebako na say. You go sin na na ye no. No that be. We say we back. What the oti happen was you go sun na ye no we a friendly match ni. You be call wake up ni go bia. We back up Benjamin Sare dem dey. Okay. Na say papa. Okay. To asoma. Osahene. I think the way there. I think that he it's difficult to say. I think that the easiest excuse is to say sorry. Hack. No. Hack ni the easiest one. Sorry ni. What are you sorry about? Are you sorry about your views? And I want so what I say. Na video no so buy na politics. See, and you are the realm of politics now. Where you know, like any apology is to your disadvantage. Okay. And my politics are complex. Say that means that you believe it now. Uncle you into our patch. No, I say I'm hacked there. Me hacked there and by video also the MP pada. The same video near from old. The argument because say ebi obi na test me views no hacking my account no. Good. What I say, the hack is the easiest excuse as you speak. Well, I mean, I think that Osahene he should be bold with his stance. Okay. Because all the time political positions in them work. Young court now share Speaker of Parliament, Keynes for Bagman, Right Honorable, and so by him. You know say no crowd the LGBTQ plus same way crowd no nim. Or can someone consider but one can someone pass it or her situation now quite a fast or pass it and I was use it on time review. It should be a bipartisan. I said both the parties no more should be between the NDC and NPP for you know ejitum said the air passing it's answer oko we are saying na or money di samra we echi obia so ehun won bi nti se be pass there so obia so air part of it yentie speaker bag message here.
Sorry. And the process by which it was adopted. What is right must be done rightly. Honorable members, I call on Parliament to rely on the provisions of motions and the conventions of this House to go back to this historic and important bill and reconsider it in the way that is truly bipartisan to conform with the convictions and confidence of our people, the initiators of the bill. For the avoidance of doubt, my concern is that legislation of such profound national importance should proceed on a foundation of broad parliamentary support, bipartisan cooperation, and scrupulous adherence to the procedures established by the Constitution and the standing orders of Parliament. The legitimacy, credibility, and enduring authority of any law depend not only on the objectives sought to be achieved, but also in the integrity of the process by which the law is enacted. Procedural law is as equally important as substantive law. Honorable members, converse and go out and on TV and radio, misinform Ghanaians again. I'm taking note of all that. That's why I initially said, read the standing orders on when the speaker is making a statement. You listen to the speaker in silence. You don't form groups and be making conversations. Clerk, be gone. Indeed, this statement is consistent with my obligation under Order 24B of the Standing Orders to promote consensus on matters under consideration in the House. It is with this conviction that I invite honorable members to reflect on whether further consideration of this matter may better secure the confidence, unity, collective ownership of the bill, and respect of our faith, laws, and passion of the nation. Accordingly, I respectfully appeal to honorable members to reflect carefully upon the issues raised and to consider in the larger national interests the bipartisan character of the bill, the unity of the House and the nation, and the need to maintain the highest standards of procedural integrity to revisit its decision on the third reading of the bill to permit a reconsideration of the final text of the bill and any amendments thereto. Such a course, if adopted by the House, would not be an abandonment of the bill, nor a rejection of its objectives. Rather, it will represent a reaffirmation of Parliament's commitment to due process, fidelity to the Constitution, consensus building, transparency, and legislative certainty. It will ensure that any final decision taken by the House reflects not only the will of Parliament, but also the fullest support of Ghanaians in the law that is ultimately enacted. Honorable members, I remain confident that honorable members will approach this matter with wisdom, patriotism, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to the integrity of our parliamentary democracy and the dignity of this House. With this, I thank you for your attention.
Anyway, Speaker of Parliament, Nen Samoa Okaye, as no, Right Honorable Kingsford Bagby, and some kind of. But Osha, latest news about home, I just say, also a question now no LGBTQ plus Mrana, you see a pass on Rasha Betufino, just welcome. The Speaker Bagby, about the two say, now no LGBT, Brana no, in Tiaco, LGBTQ plus Marana ya pass here no. Speaker Baldwin say because na minority no enka ho bi na nya bipartisan nti watwam nti say nkodu president mama ho it is all besha president mama nso tu kwan na nsen yi ene ekobisa no say LGBTQ plus be do na konya so a obesen na onsan president me comment o make here no that day no na madwen yem bebere say President Ondomani Mama say process na ewo mu a mrana ya pass na beba bedu ne table so no emu wa na ebe ko ba bi bebere ansa na ba bedu ne table so na say da bi si ya pass wi ntia no anso organ na ya dia bra da aka emu wa dia anti afa na mehu ne ntia emu wa no say video ne wo ho a moma ye ntie President John Dramani Mama interview a okoye won so so a or didn't you move back on it me a buy no. Okay, so munya video na joke mame emra ho. Now I cancel dia ye di kan mra na ye say na anu ada ya pass I see a train president mama ye nyina ye ka o be pass on pass on pass. Ye say ye twam. Ye nya by partisan. So bia de na dwen kire ye ba me ye nyina ye ti ase o man ni mu wie ansa na pass. How long?
Ghana Catholics Bishop Conference, release a statement. Say Ghanaians want the law assented to, not parliamentary technicalities.
Simple.
Simple.
Because I'm passing and I'm parliament about to say at least some waiting me passing and quite on my idea.
Yeah. So here's the issue.
Okay.
Running for Nekasa, skirmishes again, I'm a say I'm Rabena ma speaker say what the speaker has the ruling power with me sir. But he's supposed to be a referee, he's not supposed to be a participant.
I say
yes. Particular interest and he's trying to and I mean maybe the lawyers can educate us better. He said speaker to me say mon debating ruha na mon chairman na meto I don't maintain about cause them da e na who say mra ne so wonto ya na unim say mra ne so ba mra ne so nti this issue na ba it's very difficult to talk about it because I say if you read the actual legalities because also all kind of the statement talk I say you should read the standing orders about what it says about speakers orders.
Mr. Speaker,
speakers ruling. So I don't know what's going on here.
Let me bring politics into. Don't you think that because the President on Romani Mama come make a comment on this issue? Can say Ebisa say I didn't be talk on so over sign and I won't sign. President say quite never fast over turning the table so no. Quite the move what? This a move one the any speaker you will come na kasi sign for friend never quite more one pamba.
I understood it differently. There's some tape na ube wase mrana nkasa na enya hwe so kaya when you pass Ghana pass OSP bill no me say also mo pass LI ebe govern the you know mrana nkasa de enya hwe o say ofa mrano na ofa kwanya ebe implement any rules and obviously you know I make those terms you know they back mrano
okay
I thought say Benzema ka say e wo say mrano there o but for the law to actually operate you know I was here this animal to common son mrano timba be implementable
okay
for me that's understood I'm happy say omsa about video na you say tie na ya hwe na because I think that
my NTS speaker bag me and so President Mama they okay President Mama they if the video is already now can intimate the right interview or or to can say London I know they dey your call the interview on bisa na otimi cheche say oh so kwan na mu wa enimu nsensem kakra no are you ready am yenti.
I must ask you one thing about internal Ghanaian politics, and I've got a lot of questions already in it. Thank you, Samuel Badu, and others, which is whether you will sign the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill.
Oh, wow.
Your Parliament has passed. We're speaking on the first day of Pride, in the month of Pride here, and there is a lot of interest in Ghana, as well as here in the UK and in Europe. What you will do on this?
The Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill has been a bill that has probably evoked the most interest.
Increase sound in my eye.
Important issues of family values are.
It is not the only reason Ghana's in the news. It has been one.
Yeah. Parliament has been considering it, and it was supposed to have been passed last week. There have been a few issues raised. One, that there wasn't quorum when it was passed. That's an issue that has come up. And then two, there were some procedural lapses in terms of its passage. I just got some communication that the Speaker was reading a statement to address the issue of the lapses in the passage of the bill. And so, like I said, when I was the opposition leader, the president has a number of options in this matter. It must come for assent. And so once the president gets it, you go through it because you are not part of the discussion in Parliament. And so the legal representative, the legal counsel in the presidency and the Attorney General would sit on it because it was a private member's motion. Right. This was not a government bill. And so we'll look at it and make sure that everything is in order before the president is advised to assent. The president has another option if there are some things that he thinks are a problem. He can refer to the Council of State for advice. The Council of State is an advisory body to the president, and so they will take a look at it, and then they will advise the president. And if there are issues, substantial issues that are raised, the president would return the bill to Parliament, indicating exactly what the issues are. And so there's still quite a while to go before that bill becomes law.
Thank you for setting that out so clearly. Let me ask you one final one, which is about the Commonwealth. We now have Shirley Bochwe of Ghana as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. What role is the Commonwealth for Ghana? What value is it here?
Yeah, for us, we continue to be a proud member of the Commonwealth. We value our historical.
Eti wey President John Dramani Mahama bra odine ni chire Chantam House na okoye interview no ensemo a otimi eka ye fa ho. So we President John Dramani Mahama asem na yebisa ne se ade ba ko Ghana fo ani die giri pa ne se LGBTQ plus ensemo ababa ya parliament apasi se be du ne ponso a obet or the krata pen besi so rather asan amana baba ye mra na. And also no ntia no President John Dramani Mahama atene say the Speaker of Parliament mo ayen krata omo se omo behwe ensemo aba betodwa no ne ya pass na obe kan ho asama hweniyi na omo be pass through a process. Sa process ne pass through a na ebeduru ni ho a obesan. Two, another way nso wo say ebeduru ni ho a ono President John Dramani Mahama no obehwem na niema bi wom na ohwe na embo a obe refer e de ama Council of State. Council of State in ehwehwem wi a with advice of the Attorney General na mrafo na omotwa no ho ahia wo abankese mu no ombetime tunofo amohu kwan na mfa so yeso omode ba so we na yen sama President John Dramani Mahama odi etudwa.
Yeah, I think that in clarification, I think initially the way I make Mantie video I think how I understood it, say there's also other legislative instruments about law now, but I think that in clarification is options are one. Say but turn him nasa on we say yeah kasa first law no ban na do second na do na onje law na on ida obe comment ama parliament say ne wo no mani nye ho through the advice of the Attorney General and as would be Council of State, not Council of State. I remember say when we say a bit my one son na wa asente, but that wasn't done. That wasn't, and for me, I think that is where the public capital. For me, I think that this explanation shows that the fact that a passed Parliament just say it to be signed.
Yes.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There are so processes because it's a private members bill. No, mra a bind the con. As a bind the. Saban the matter, Parliament, a free Attorney General, from the ministry or originating ministry to the Attorney General, then to Parliament. But private members bill it doesn't necessarily do that.
Okay.
From the private members to the necessary committee to the legal committee now about Parliament for passage. Into the president who asks and say or be consulting the Attorney General. The Attorney General will give him the advice to proceed based on whatever going on. And I think that it's in line. For me, I think that it's far more different from don't transmit, don't let it come and other things. But I think that this matter should be resolved quickly. I don't think that I don't think that it should be made to be too technical and other things. It should be done quickly. The last time Abambabe was able to make it pass quickly with Nani. Was say, wow, we need to sorry. And then that's why they say, wow, we need to sorry. So it wasn't even a vote for you to hide behind everything. But aside that, I think that we should allow. But it came across a bit as bullying. So what best sorry? I said, Warner, unjintum. Then
Ghana for being
yes. So
and then if I go be lose.
And they will lose it. You partly quite to me. You were decided. So for me, I think that's where the have a bit dicey with that his approach, you know. And also I was trying to make a point earlier. I say the Speaker of Parliament doesn't take part of the debate. He doesn't he's just a referee.
Yes.
And the referee to me say
referee. Yeah, Mrana ya pass here because Obesha Honorable Mahama Yarego ye majority leader. Ebe comment on Speaker some no kind na ohwe and some more kind na o say there is nothing to reconsider. The majority leader Mahama Yarega reject Bagman appeal for recall on the anti-LGBT bill for partisan agreement.
Yeah.
Also no as a majority leader no what do you call it there? Speaker of Parliament because Speaker of Parliament is not part
of the process
of you are not part of it. You're too about one can be. And how then ultimately ever question is and I wait I'm running for a bit much. I think
I'm running for a bit more called the powers of the speaker
okay.
And all those things because something that NTRC because the part is quite now say a bus is here. This is 1 hour ago.
Yes,
and a bus it has been crushed and stuff. And I think we should look at that again. Better explanation maybe from China corner. We have a deeper understanding and we'll be able to educate people about it. I think that Hono you read the Speaker's Parliament, the Speaker's powers well. Whether the Speaker need to me yes sir, with me yes sir, what grant him that and stuff like that. And why hasn't that been done already? Because there are several things like a lot of issues the Speaker could have intervened and solved the problem going forward. But but I think that they be issue and the Constitution also. Today be interpretation anyway in the Bambi. So let's see tomorrow. If it's China Wednesday. Yeah. There was in Thomas. Let's see how that plays out going forward.
Because we are not OEC order 107, 1071, 1072, and now order now 107. It's a 170. No say first reading of the bill no, and also we are key purpose. A woman say the bill is introduced. And no, you change the title no, and no debate. The purpose and say MP for no, who say you notify them. And a second reading here order 171 no, and so say a second reading of the bill. And also the purpose no has to do with the general principles and the merit of our debate bill no so me refer the committee or as a bill near the call. And order 172 in so to over consideration in the committee stage you know. The bill examine Mrana Nisa name won't be and I heard the clauses involved near Timedi Encomo. And do share the Speaker of Parliament at this Saturday in Abana. The points are no raising is say a Kobasana Emma Mrano Babia as I say a defa choir de faso am I to me a passing Rebia or Marshebe Fino. Ain't me fast amra kwan so said the okomra she be fi omudi omudu adie no say and go through that purpose e ma no entimi enjintum emeyeye in the bottom line say o say the MP for no yentimi enforce omo emo omo ntimi eme pass emra bi omo nye omo adwo be pass enu ntina sa order no etimi buy that stage ntina
but stage 171 stage 3 no be
stage 3 no has to do with that's a consideration committee stage no so no that's a bill no ye examine no with the clause and the by clause and then near me woman no and omutimi dey check is idea
okay so but after 3 na coin
just after 3 no na that's ya nyatma ye bibia wi and just a person says about my
so
it me pass
so was that stage we ya pass here you say one little business can 3 hobby because I tell you 3 hono
go and
pass it
what 3 has to do with certain
almost
you do be committee stage you know and na third reading you know now MPs you know ebenya kwan ato aba if they say that you know betimi hono betimi aya amendment oh yes say we are transparency timi abem due process so timi abem na MP no omo timi aya no mo pass it but
so who can na mehwe standing orders no functions of the speaker.
Okay.
So I won't wear power no age.
Oh wow, with me and
20. Okay. Standing Order 20. No?
Okay.
That's functions of the.
Okay.
So general function. I say the Speaker is the head of the institution of Parliament and presides over sittings of Parliament. The Speaker shall satisfy by signature financial bills and the Speaker is the official spokesperson of Parliament. Okay. The principal liaison between the Parliament, the executive, judiciary, and the judiciary, the Council of State, and the National House of Chiefs. The president of the local chapter of every international parliamentary association of which Ghana is a member. I say the Speaker shall uphold the honor and dignity and sanctity of the House. Okay. Promote consensus on matters under consideration in the House. That is a Hano. Okay. Consensus, because it has to be
both parties. Yes.
Yes. Be impartial, fair, and firm in every matter in the performance of his functions of the Speaker in these orders. Protect and preserve the rights of members. Ensure provision of reasonable facility to the Speaker of Parliament. Promote consensus. No, but what I don't know is, can you reverse something? Because those are me making their point is Speaker of Parliament the person who assumes the seat is referred to as Mr. Speaker.
Yes. First deputy, second deputy.
Even beyond the second, the 7th Parliament. Abra Omama, I think when you Katie Hamon other people Marco take care. No, they were not first or second speakers, but they were referred to as Mr. Speaker. That means that everything is done with the authority of Mr. Speaker. So where
and the initial comment we did come and say, or can so consider.
Yes.
But one can so pass it.
No, but that's the point.
First as smooth me
no, but exactly what I'm questioning. I'm questioning and then I can say. So what say you want me like third reading if what happens? Okay. And then depending on what you give me instruction what to do and what not to do. Okay. Is that what happens? Okay. And unless there was a ruling, or could be a ruling is binding. To be on my ruling being all corner that happened, that's fine. But if say after consideration, then I can pass it.
But also it says the Speaker one question
yeah. Or appeal to
or what he said he said or direct Parliament is already consider decision on what they are passes Amrano. One, there was a procedural breach that the standing order now that is 170, 171, 172, and 1. 2, and say a lack of bipartisan consensus on the floor. And also issue in and all some consider. 3, a sensitivity. The need for concession on implementation. Yes, say Ghana for both MPP, NDC, whoever suffer for or say very sensitive in this. So be answer again. A basoni who say when you kind but say
so how can you say because we've seen laws passed in this country without this
and forms also say not abandon the bill. Or clarify say it is or rejected the bill objective. Now or that's more kind of today. So say I am a man of action. I will pass the LGBT bill. I will pass the LGBTQ bill. The move is to reaffirm due process. No. The move is to reaffirm due process, transparency, and legislative certainty. So the final law reflects the full support of Ghanaians.
So okay, so here's here's the thing I am confused. You saw there were difficulties in what you were reading just because that because here's the thing. The Mrano, I think that we will need a lawyer on this matter maybe going forward now. Okay. Because Mrano are passing in your so if you are supposed to be the unfair like neutral and fair, and yes, like I say, it's supposed to be impartial. That's but when our interest womb,
yes.
So he's letting his interest override his impartiality. Okay. That's the first thing. 2, say also make a point to abandon the bill.
Yes.
Is the bill the same thing? No, did that happen in Duke was a happy committee?
Yes.
Our committee, what do you call it? Our committee amendments allowed on bills. Yes or no? That's a fact. Our committee's amendment allowed on bills or no?
Okay.
But Parliament, did the people raise issues about the amendment? Yes.
Yes.
Did they vote on it? Yes. So what is the lack of a because in fact say be a lofty you buy now say oh free na ko ye nyina ye benom pipe anu so ha afi mrana ye be ye meeting bi ya na mrana ko dana say ye benom bula mu so ha that means mrana sisa materially
nyama sisa
but say be a amendment be say oh ye tina ase na we ni we ka say oh na ye benom pipe mu so ha ye benom na cap mu ene ya amendment. Yes. Oh, you better the cap fit not the amendment. So amendment like you didn't follow the full process.
Okay.
I know you said the law say you better pipe musu na sasa.
And sign. Okay.
So as much in time because he's a lawyer for them because the law no and common sense. But Lord, I do any common sense. I think lawyers but man no make much in because a hono dice akramame because offer say the thing I go through all the processes it has been passed. We say me economy say mom pass it ma pass ya mweti. It doesn't work. I don't think it works that way.
Okay. Let's take it to that level. Say
before my friend previous committee.
Maybe I am the NTS. I didn't say you mean lawyers, no. Now on what me actually as an me actually the but also near back me and sa the minority no or more erase objection ever has to do say Ghana San
Wills Fatican.
Omatican. I can't say Ghana for your share goes in our now there one can MC for man can tell me na nigga some catch say Ghana for match no Omatican. Ana will you know
Born ga yapo
will it after the year show omote can team year show there Ghana for match no Omati why one more share yapon kra yes no ano eti ye wie dia in conclusion no yan hwe de minority ni raise concern about no the new version no more has to do with the lawyers say individual who provide legal advice or legal representation to persons identified as LGBTQ+ will not be liable to punishment. That is one. Two, journalists and media organizations reporting on LGBT related issues or covering such matters in the course of professional duties are exempted. And medical professions, that's a doctor, psychologists, counselors, or offering surgical, psychological, and counseling services to LGBTQ+ persons will not be penalized under the law. Why the minority for no a concern no it may cause when you know there are changes and it may be muntia. But some changes when you don't care. And I joy can say because some more policy. So must we do policy with everything? In conclusion, and your name.
I think that politics bomber now asem I'm saying it didn't come out we bomber as it was and that's what politics does to a lot of the conversations. Are they legitimate? Is it that for me I don't some trouble.
Yes.
Into who say be cause one say LGBT and it's all report.
And some report.
Yes. You think see a shemra say matabu why you report it.
And now there's a lot of editorial, so you get me a can't.
Yes.
And no can be a better.
Yes. In fact, be one who say LGBT nibu area away. Now people are mistreat more bona because academics is like it can be interpreted.
Oh, no, just a whole support to say.
Yeah, Tina show is what I say discretionary. Some of the law require discretions, you know. And your law, Papa.
Yes. We all can say law, I might be munesca and your law.
I know, but discretion say, in your black and white, grey, into more wash and brown. I actually, when I was, I said, I told you, I actually say, and I say, you know, yes, I pay a problem.
Good.
Indeed, for me, I think that for journalists, for you to say, a journalist cannot cover or cannot do a report, cannot do that. Academician cannot do research. How? How can we build ourselves as a country, even when their behaviors are changing? Okay, so my example about how me research. So I'm very interested in that thing. Sebia LGBT for more Ghana. Omu se mrana ba no ma say ese omu suban se na koyesa research na police mrana be chew. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Say ya hu say omu suban asesa. Yes, our research now. Some research in Kankasa Tiamra. Papa. For me, I think that we have to take out a lot of any emotions be brain there. Yes, animal way because open bra no mekano Uganda bra it has not made any. I think to buy how much nipa back one and you be asa and Senegal there buy like it will be on the books. You remember old books mo. Remember old books and yes it's just unimplementable. It just doesn't make sense. And that's so you more pragmatic laws. Laws are you bet my implemented. Laws are a bit more preventative. Law a bit more say be dem nkwala banana na se nipa be onfa ne hu nkoshem ana odne hu shem na se wa bre. Wa bre say afi dem pese mi jaya. Also onya ba bi ko. Na obekọ na okodu na ka say na me kra me yese ya na ya be chew de. And so obetena se. It's the same problem with suicide. I am suicide here criminal issues by no. Yeah.
Call Masemtvgh Online. Call or say anti-LGBT bill was lawfully passed. Speaker cannot reverse Parliament decision. Mahama Yarega is saying this. Or say the majority leader Mahama Yarega has insisted that the Human Sexual Rights and Family Value Bill 2025 was passed in accordance with the parliamentary procedure and that Speaker Babing cannot reverse the decision already taken by the House. His remarks follow concern raised by the Speaker after the bill was passed on 29th May 2026. Babing indicated that he had expected Parliament to continue consideration of the legislation and was surprised to learn that all stages of the legislative process had been completed. Speaking at the eyewitness, Ayariga maintained that Parliament acted within its standing orders and that no procedural violation occurred during the passage of the bill. Speaker is only appealing. He cannot in any way reverse that what has happened. What has happened has happened. Yes. We have passed many bills the same way, and indeed there was no rule that was breached at all. Ayariga stated. The majority leader explained that concern regarding the requirement for a bill to wait 24 hours before progressing to the next stage were addressed through a procedural motion to break time, which was approved by the first deputy speaker. If you check the votes and proceedings, you will see clearly that the procedural motion was moved and allowed by the first deputy speaker. We breached time and that enabled us to take the bill through the third consideration stage. So there was absolutely no breach of procedure. Procedure now 107. That is 1070. That is 170 1701 179. Then breaching. Yes. BBR pass it through.
What happens at the 3 before passage? Consideration. Was it considered?
Yes. BBR go through, but the speaker no appeal.
Tomorrow is pregnant.
I don't know we your motherland for no ekase wa kwashi.
Well, say
the person no go mudin and na mo ka so ma kwashi. He hasn't also appeal.
Yeah.
Call Masemtvgh Online. I've been with a story no. Either one so beat me and they be akanya. One say no but
so I think that tomorrow is pregnant.
Tomorrow is pregnant.
Say we
a lot of baby jabs because onyamra she be dwani.
However, where the case mrana nyakoto enkoto no. Afa back cohesion.
Okay.
What happens to some of these things that now, okay, I say like there are certain things that Bagwen can do. There's certain things that if government business comes there, any other things, maybe the cohesion between unknown majority and other things. I think that's where shake is. But okay, the he's obviously not happy. And I'm just talking about I said we'll have a meeting and Obeka can have Bianchi. No, we have press conference. I know what you say. Yeah, true. So I think or address it. I think they made a point that he's going to meet the leadership of other things. But I think that it goes down to say, see, these things. Once I think let's go back to the processes. Okay. Review the processes, and I'm sure if the speakers really were wrong, they have a right to appeal. Okay. China, I think that China it will come back to Parliament.
But do you think as I say you consider the one in the national?
I think that most of the problematic things have been removed.
Okay.
For me, I think that the most problematic part is one, everyone in Ghana should have right to legal representation. Also, Obia to me a lawyer. Would default, would be also to me because a bit of and your bonny a why. A punishment, as somebody said, come was a moboa on your bonnet. But one cannot say in dinner. That's all one can eat to know them. Because your wife says, we could not suffer me, go on again. Then you can hear. Many I cannot speak for the man can you know what I take like oh yes in like at least they are told so oh this matter girly tell say kojobesia but onye like nye ni subano no make any akwachina ka say ni subano na afena onye obe management market also be anya access to lawyer also be anya access to legal health facilities
health professionals
and also the matter should be discussed in public so a bit by one in kramobi. The matter yes. And also journalists should be able to cover. And also researchers should be able to research.
Yeah.
And this say you have to you are guilty unto proving this you are guilty unto proving innocent.
But and if they have done him run all together.
Oh, and for me I think that those part of the law doesn't really need any special consideration. It's just to make the law complicated. Unimplementable. And that's why the problem is. Unimplementable person, because then law not the books and so. Okay. And for me, I think that's completely unnecessary. Most of them, I think the law as it is a good compromise, and we should go ahead with it.
Okay. Yampon, Yabrana a bit. Yeah, sorry, and you may now. Yansuyama, Quayama, so it's me Aquadana. Jumedio, Ochina Yabako Banda.
Banda,
yeah, Ochina Yako Banda. Banda no say then June 4th.
I say
okay.
The hosting of the Nazi whole other place this time no.
Now one knows in Banda.
I will say from an airborne
Abako Banda. That is any banda 40 years. And this is for you never banda.
Almost all the major big wigs in Naiba and almost Masemtvgh live coverage.
Yeah, because funny in Adia Brom. Very well. Mammy and that's in your channel. Ye cobanda, tea, the Ecoso Hobiano, you beat me at Diablo, you beat Cunha, you be in some Nusubi Breccia, you beat my more TV. And also in Chesa or Channel, Global Sports Emma, Global Sports about China. In your channel, and you may, by time I hear you see ya, the better I know Dean Common, Global Sports Beba. Now, yet before then, but yeah, the anybody can't back a cry. Thursday also beyond the headlines also but I know so about Banda.
Yes.
Honana, Nina, so beat me about so. Now, I just say, in commoning in our honey, dear, see, anyway, my enda a year Willie, I know so a year Obia production manager, Ewa Hall, and our Osha MC, I'm so taking a cab man behind the 2 and 4 Kakonso and Quebec Conso Nation and so a junior and so Baba and so a technician on duty here. Cameraman here Richmond and I name you Minimia Dwacam any share did you at the brow. Mediana Kwame fresh lofty. The year
recover the economy and stabilize it. There's the need to send a signal that destabilization is here to stay and we're going to sustain that. In doing so, you need a stamp of approval. You need that credibility with the IMF. Hence our decision to work with the IMF to introduce the next level of reforms. And so the reforms we are introducing